Hello everyone, and welcome to another oil painting video. So what do you do when you have a painting that you do and it looks terrible and you don't like it and it wasn't what you envisioned? You don't have to throw out the canvas. Nope. When I was first learning how to paint many years ago, I screwed up most of my paintings. So what you do is you take a palette knife, scrape it off, take a shop towel, preferably. You can use a paper towel, but a shop towel is better, and wipe off as much paint as you can. Try to get it smooth, okay? You don't want, clumps of extra oil paint here and there, whatever. Try to keep it as smooth as you can. That's why you use the knife. And do one of these. Okay? Scrape it off and just keep going, and then use the shop towel. And the reason being is once you have that, even with conventional oil paints, I use the Griffin Elkid, so they're fast drying anyway, but even conventional oil paints, that thing will be dry to the touch sooner than later. Sooner than later, meaning at least no more than 2 days, 3 days. Now, conventional oil paints, let it dry a little bit longer, okay? Not years or anything else, but I'd give it a couple of weeks. Then you can paint right over it with oils. You can't go with acrylics. Acrylics are non-deal here for this stuff. So, this was an oil painting that I did, and it looked like pretty bad, okay? So I did that whole thing. It just had nothing even close to what I was looking at. It kind of went off on its own. And I scraped it off. I wiped it off with our shop towels you get at Walmart, like a 6 or 8 pack for like $10 or something. They're not expensive. I waited. Now, like I said, I used the Griffin Elkid, so I could have done it the next day. I've been busy with, the summer and vacation and work and everything else, so this one's been a couple of weeks. But even, like I said, conventional oils, a couple of weeks, and you'll be fine. So, here's the beauty. Now, acrylics will work if this was an acrylic painting. So, here's the deal. If this is an oil painting that you messed up and you scrape it off and wipe it off, you can only put oils on it. If it's an acrylic painting that you did and you screwed up and you wiped it off before it dried, then you can put acrylic or oils. So make sure oil on oil or acrylic on acrylic or oil. Okay? You basically cannot put acrylic on top of oil for any reason whatsoever. You can put the other way around, but never on top of oils, just because of the way they dry. Okay, so let's go here. Let's bring this over. And let's just go basic, okay? I'm gonna pay a little bit more red. And this that we're working on is another reason why I didn't want to do it. One, I don't care if it's a cheap Hobby Lobby canvas or anything like that. You don't want to get rid of artist materials. Even the cheap stuff is still money, okay? So you don't want to get rid of stuff. I mean, I bet you when I first started painting, there was one, it was an 18 by 24, like a Hobby Lobby canvas. Without exaggeration, I'll bet you I put 20 paintings out of that thing, doing that same technique I just told you. And it's a wonderful thing because you don't waste money, but you're still painting on a canvas. Now this one is a linen. This is the Centurion from Jerry's Artorama, so it's a nicer piece of material anyway, a nicer support anyway. But still, even the cheap stuff, don't waste it. Art supplies are not cheap. They're not as ridiculous as some things in life, like golfing. I used to be a golfer many years ago, and once I got really into painting, along with my job, I don't have the time, and it's also very expensive. Where painting, it's only expensive when you first buy stuff initially to get into it. But once you're into it, replacing a tube here and there is not that big a deal. Now, here's the other thing. You can tell right now. You can see the old stuff. Here's the new stuff. Covers right over. Now, it didn't when I just had the Phthalo Blue and the Cad Red Light, because I was going with the medium. It was a little thinner just to kind of spread it out there. Once I hit it with the Titanium White, which is opaque, boom, everything clears up. Titanium White is very opaque, and you've got it. I'm just going to put a little bit more on just to lighten it up a touch. Make sure I have that opaqueness. And let's see what we're going to do here. Just smoothing this out. Okay, that'll work. Now, not even gonna clean the brush. You know, you've been watching my videos. I'm gonna go right into Payne's Gray with the same dirty brush. A little bit of yellow ochre. I'm gonna start a mountain here. Yes, the blue and the white's mixing in a little bit, doesn't matter. You can make it to where you can blend it with it and it just goes in real nice. You can see how the white streaks are in there. You can just keep going over it with the dark colors and it'll darken up. I'm not putting paint on real thick. If I was using a palette knife, that'd be a different story, but I'm not. But just for FYI, I've got a couple more canvases left that are the larger, and I'm going to go specifically to palette knife paintings only, probably in the next, I don't know, 2-3 weeks. And then it's gonna be palette knife only. I'm gonna retire my brush for sure and forever. I really love the way palette knife stuff works. I'm getting a little bit better at the technique, and that's what I'm gonna do. There's just something about the palette knife, the effects that I can get that I really like. So I'm gonna do a couple more of these, and hopefully all of you that are watching and subscribe to my channel won't just get rid of it when I'm no longer using brush. You know, it'd be nice if you just gave it a chance and see if you like it. And if you don't like my palette knife works, then you know, go to other channels where paintings that you do like. But if you can try and give my stuff a look and see if you like it. I've done a couple, so you get an idea. I'm going to be using mainly gesso board because the wood support is much better for palette knife work than a stretch canvas, and the biggest reason is the edges. They don't have, you know, the stretcher bars that make it tough to paint over. Okay, now this is just yellow ochre. What I'm doing is I'm blending it in a little bit with the base color, which is a little bit of yellow ochre, along with Payne's Gray. I'm going to add, as soon as I wipe the brush off, I'm going to add a little bit of my phthalo green to green it up a little bit, not a lot. I still want this relatively dark in this area. And the reason I do is because it's still not in the foreground. I like the yellow ochre, phthalo blue, not phthalo blue, phthalo green mix. Actually, the phthalo blue goes well with it. Goes well with it too. Okay. Now I'm going to use the side of the brush like you see me do a bunch of times. Just get that paint in. And this is a nice quick painting. You know, this isn't going to take us too long, but it's going to be really fast paced. Okay, so now we're going to just a little bit up. I'm not going to go too far up yet because I still have to put highlights up, but just a little bit. Then straight as I can. There you go. That's a nice start. That's a nice little mountain range. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe my brush off. I want to get my clouds in before I put in the highlights. So if I get close, I'm not going to mess them up. One of the things you want to do, even when you do a spontaneous painting like this, where we're just kind of making it up as we go, you always want to think at least one step ahead, 2 steps ahead. So I know I got to put highlights on here. I also got to put some clouds up. So if I put the clouds too close and I get into just this dark color here, it's no big deal. I can always blend that dark into the sky, no big deal. But if I get some really pretty highlights and I get them just the way they want, and I mess them up with putting clouds in and fluffing them up, then you got to scrape it off and start over again for that peak, and it's just a pain. So the best thing to do, in my opinion, is go ahead and just loud palette, think ahead and put your clouds in. And this is a really easy way to do clouds. Now, there are artists on YouTube and wherever that do clouds and skyscapes, excuse me, say that fast 5 times. Skyscapes. And they're absolutely stunning. They look like a damn photograph. They're gorgeous. I like, forgive me for using the technical term, haphazardness to my paintings. I don't like a lot of precision. Could be one of the reasons why palette knife is so appealing to me and working with it. But I don't like anything looking manicured. Now, part of it could be maybe I can't, subconsciously I know I can't dedicate 10 hours to just doing clouds in a painting. So I'm rationalizing in my subconscious. I have no idea. I just like basic, pretty stuff. And I don't like anything that looks like a photograph when it comes to painting. That's my preference. And don't get me wrong. I mean, Thomas Kinkade, God rest his soul, was an incredible artist. And his stuff was, a lot of it was photorealistic. Not hyperrealism, but still photorealistic. Especially some stuff he did for Disney and that. And I think he was just an outstanding artist. But for me, that's just not what drives me to paint. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but for me, I just like putting the paint down and letting it decide what I do to a degree. You know, I can guide it a little bit, but I want the paint to kind of determine what it's doing. I don't know if that makes any sense or it makes me sound corny. And if you say it makes me sound corny, I would tell you that you wouldn't be the first to say that. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of dark in there. This is just straight Payne's Gray, but I'm tapping it in a little bit. So basically what that's doing is it's blending with everything that's on there. Wipe it off a little bit. And this will just give me a little bit more color in the sky. And again, this is very gentle. You can hear it a little bit when you're on the canvas, but it's still relatively gentle. It's not that heavy of a hand. And this is even lighter. Okay. And now I'm using, you know, a lot of times I'm using just like this much of the bristles just to kind of move the stuff around, move the paint around. Get some of those brush strokes out and kind of get it in something that's pleasing to me. Sometimes you got to blend it a little more, sometimes a little less. It doesn't matter. You just, there we go. There we go. That looks pretty good. Just about 14 minutes in, and we got a nice chunk of painting done. Okay, so now we are going to get one of our palette knives. And I put all my small knives on the back table for some reason, and I don't know why I did that. Sorry. I had to go get them. You can use this one. This is my workhorse for my 8x10, 6x8, and 5x7 paintings. I love it. Okay, so I don't want to have this thing stark white. I want a little bit of yellow ochre in it. And the reason I want yellow ochre in it is because I got yellow ochre in the mountain itself. I'm just using the tip of the knife. Not using the whole thing. Apologize for my arm being in there. There we go. what you want to do with this is put these highlights where you imagine them to be. Now, remember, we're going to have some little distant foothill trees here a little bit that's going to go up into this. So some of this is going to be blocked. But until you get to that point, you know, you can put the trees over it easy enough. So you just fill it, you don't fill it in, but you get enough on there where, if in case you don't hit it with the tree, it'll look correct. And if you do hit it with the tree, then it doesn't matter. Okay, see, that looks really good. I'm enjoying that. And here's the other thing. Walk back. I don't know if you can hear how I'm talking differently as far as I'm using the same loudness of my voice, but sometimes you hear me maybe closer to the camera or less. When you hear me and it sounds like I'm really close to the camera, that's just because I'm backing up several feet, 6-8 feet, just to get a decent look at it and see what I'm looking at. And I'm actually thinking here, I might not actually do a lot of can't talk today. A lot of foothill trees. I think I'm just gonna pump in a little bit here. Almost like greenery. And this is a little yellow ochre and a little bit of phthalo green and a little bit of cad yellow light. Needs to be a brighter value than the mountains themselves, but I don't want it real bright because this isn't the foreground yet. There we go. But the value has to be brighter so you can see it. And I'm just using, you can see just that little angle of the brush. There we go. Lift up a little bit here. There we go. Let's see how that looks. Yep, that'll work. Now I am going to have a few bigger trees that's going to go up here and there, but not too many. Not too many. This is going to be, I don't know, a little bit more mountain, but I'm going to have a couple up here, a couple here. So I want to see a decent amount of the mountains. So speaking of mountains, let's go ahead and get those big trees in so I know where the heck I'm going. Gotta know where you're going. So and basically this is phthalo blue, phthalo green, Payne's gray. And I just want something dark because it's going to be highlighted. Maybe not every one of them. There we go. And now I'm tapping a little bit lighter. Because these are the ones that I'm probably going to use by themselves. They're thinner. That works. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go with same fan brush I was using before. I'm going to use that same mixture that I did for this, but a little bit more cad yellow. And I'm going to get these big ones with different stuff on them. Like I said, I'm not going to do all of them. And then I'm going to take a smaller fan brush and I'm going to make some stuff on them. Now I'll actually wipe this down. Clean this brush. So now what I want to do, take a little small fan brush. I think this is a 4. A little bit more phthalo blue, cad yellow light. I'm going to take what I have here and I'm just giving it branches here and there. A little bit more blue. And this is just to give it a little spread out. And I'm going to hit some darker colors in here in a second. This is too light for everything because it's on such a light background with the sky. This is all you have to do. Remember, nature is all over the place. So you don't need everything perfect. You know, you look at trees everywhere and they're just all over the place. Okay, so now going straight phthalo blue, which is going to mix with this a little bit. That's going to give it a little bit more darkness to go up against that real light sky. There we go. And remember, you know, I do what I consider semi-realism. Okay? So yeah, it looks like a certain thing, but it's not a photograph of it. So I'm going to be a little more loose, a little more haphazard. Keep using that damn word, I don't know why. It's kind of a cool word though, haphazard, sounds cool. There we go. There we go, I like that. But I like the movement and the energy of just going with it and playing with it. Okay, speaking of movement and energy, so we're gonna go with that's way, way, way too red. That's not gonna stay that way, okay? You know, red is a foreground color, and this is not the foreground. I'm just putting this down as a base, and I'm gonna scrape a little bit of it off. I just want a little bit of the red in there, just to give it some warmth, okay? So I'll show you what we're doing. It's actually kind of cool. So now, we've got that nice base. So now I'm gonna go with a little bit of phthalo green and yellow ochre. And now put in some phthalo blue. There we go. And if you notice, we got it like a hill coming this way. Okay, so wipe off the knife, and then I'm going to change the knife to this one. Oh, just dropped it. To the little bit of a narrower knife, a little sturdier. And I'm going to take some yellow by itself without that orange color to it. See how that's jumping out now? But it's not jumping out foreground, jumping out. And I'm still keeping a little bit of reds here and there. Notice how we're doing that? There we go. Okay, that's showing the texture nice. See, that's one of the things about the palette knife. Well, there's a million things I love about the palette knife. But one of them is the texture. So, we've used a brush on everything other than the mountain highlights and what I just did for that mid-ground grass. Okay? And it's looking really nice. Even the trees, I normally do with the knife. I haven't today, okay? But I still have my texture in there. So now we're gonna put in some water. Where's the water gonna be? So wherever this line for the water is, then we're gonna come down with the land. I like that far bank, which I'm working on now, to be relatively straight. Doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. No rule that says it has to be anything. It's just what I prefer, my own little preference for when I'm doing landscapes. Now, my bank that's closer to me, that could go all over the place. I've had that in zigzags and all kinds of stuff. Doesn't matter. But that far bank, I like having that straight kind of base to it. Okay, water is too dark to see, but it doesn't matter because it won't be shortly. Hope everybody's enjoying their summer. It's hard to believe July is half over. Just a hair more than half, I think. Wait a minute, today's, 15th. Actually, today's exactly the halfway point. I think there's only 30 days in July. So, we've got that done. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add the white. I want the water to be relatively smooth. I want this to be a bit of a calming scene. So my water, I don't want to be real fast moving or whatever. A little too light here, so I gotta put a little bit more phthalo blue in it. And that's why I'm kind of blending the hell out of this. Want the water. You want your strokes to all be horizontal with water. There we go. That's very nice. Okay, so while we're at it, just to finish it off, so I'm going to just use whatever dark I have left on my palette, which is let's see here. Yellow ochre isn't dark, but it is when I mix it with the Payne's Gray and the phthalo green like I just did. So that'll be a nice dark color. And then I'm going to put that grass like I did that. So I need something real dark so I can now, I'm going to go right into this. There we go. I'm enjoying the smooth, painting right now. Because like I said, once I make the shift to palette knife only, there's not going to be a hell of a lot of smooth left. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do, wipe off my brush. And right now, the only thing I've cleaned is the one big fan brush that I was using. Now, here's the beauty of the palette knife. one of the many. Once you get over the fear of the palette knife, and trust me, if you never used a palette knife and you're going to use a whole painting for it, there's fear. If you're just going to use it to highlight a mountain or this or that, it's not that big a deal. But when you look at a blank canvas and you're going to think to yourself, okay, I'm going to use a knife for the entire thing, until you get used to it, you're like, uh-oh, what the hell am I doing? But what's nice about it is there are no mediums or solvents, brush cleaners, nothing like that. It's basically paint, knife, paper towel. That's really all you need. So you have a lot less to worry about when it comes to that. Now, one of the downsides of a knife is because everything is so thick, okay, it's going to take a lot longer to dry. Even my Griffin Alkids on some of my palette knife work, usually Griffin Alkids like this painting will probably be dry to the touch 24 to 30 hours, okay? Excuse me, and I'll be able to go like this and nothing will come up. When I do a full palette knife only painting, this one I did on a demonstration in Oak Brook, Illinois, about a month ago. And this one took about 2.5 days to dry to the touch. Now, that's Griffin Alkids, it takes 2.5 days. You have conventional oil paints and it's probably a couple of weeks. So one of the things to doing palette knife work with oils is you need to be patient with the drying. Now, there are a lot of people that use acrylics for their palette knife work because they dry so damn quick. That is also an option. I am not a big acrylic guy. I love oil paints. So if I was ever to have to use a different paint, I would just have to deal with the drying time. But there are a lot of people that use acrylics for it, and it works out real well for them. Okay, back to the painting. So what I want to do, I want to have the same color of here. I'm just going to go like this. I'm just defining kind of where my shoreline is. Okay. And that's all I'm doing, defining the shoreline. I don't want to go into the water, although if I did, it wouldn't hurt anything. I'm just going up. And I just did go into the water. There we go. And now we have that. So now I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to define where I went in. There we go. Now I'm going to take my knife, spread out some white, put in a little bit water lines here and there. Putting these in very gently, and I'm going to take a fan brush and then smooth them out a little bit. Not that they're all that bulky now, they're not. Like I said, I don't want this to be, fast moving river. I want this to be relatively calm. So what I'm going to do, and I'll show you, I'm going to take that big fan brush that I was using before for the clouds. It's a lot fluffier. This bristles, it's hog hair bristles, so they're still stiffer than a synthetic brush, but it's these bristles are a little softer than the other fan brush I have. And I'm just going to do the same thing I did with the clouds, except lighter. And I'm just diffusing, giving the water just a little bit of movement. See what I'm doing? A little bit of movement. I don't want to blend it to where you can't see it. There we go. Oh, there we go. Very nice. Okay, now we got some more stuff to do here. We need flowers. So in order to do that, we need something for the flowers to sit on. And basically this is just Payne's Gray, straight up. There we go. And we're gonna have lots of red flowers. I'm gonna start like this. Palette knife. And I'm just touching, letting it go on. I don't want this overly thick like a normal palette knife painting. As you can see, I got a lot of flowers on there that are not as thick. Some of them are a little bit. I don't want to go too crazy with the thickness on this one. That wasn't the point of this one. Okay, now, you heard me say a million times, if you got it one place, you got to put another. I know I got a little bit of red up there, but that's not enough for my taste. Just a little bit more red here. There, like it's little wildflowers, red wildflowers here and there. There we go. Okay, wipe the brush off. The knife, sorry. Go right into my cad yellow. It's already got some orange on it, so there's going to be a nice fire engine red, orange, everything else. I'll probably have to get some more yellow out. Let's see how much I have here. Wildflowers are cool because they go all over the place too. You don't need anything special for them. There we go. Just using up the stuff that I was using before. One thing with a palette knife is you're going to use more paint, so you want to make sure that you use what you have on your palette. You want to, even if you're doing brush painting, you don't want to waste paint. I don't care how inexpensive it may be or expensive it is, just wasting paint isn't good. Okay, so now I got my base in. So now what I'm going to do is I've got my base green in. Can you even see that? Yeah, a little bit. You can see that. And I'm gonna crop it in more, my painting here, my video. Okay, so I'm gonna use some of the orange now. And I'm just gonna put in places. Just to brighten it up in places. I don't want to use white, because white will bleach it. It won't look right. I don't like white for something like this. I prefer using yellow. Okay. That came out good. Now I just want to go a little more horizontal. I have the slope at the top. I don't want a slope at the bottom. Go. There we go. Okay, my friends, I think we have a completed painting. And this is probably, I don't know, 60% brush, 40% knife. I am making the switch to go full palette knife, to my wife's chagrin. She likes my brush stuff better. You could do any ratio you want or not at all. It's up to you, but it's nice to have contrast, and every painting needs contrast. Contrast can be lights to darks. It could be big to small. It can also be texture to smooth. Texture to smooth. Texture to smooth. And when you have that contrast, you have a more interesting painting. So I hope everybody had a great weekend. I know this is Tuesday. I'm on vacation this week with my wife, and we were in Lake Geneva on the weekend, so I didn't have a chance to do my painting. So I got the video today, and I'll put it up tonight. So I'm doing it during the day Tuesday. You'll see it probably about 7 o'clock tonight. So I want to thank everybody for subscribing to my channel and watching my videos. I hope you try some of these things. And if there's anything you want to see, any type of paint or whatever, let me know. And if I can do a review or do a painting with it, I'll do my best. Hope everybody has a great work week, and I will talk to you later.